Welcome to Healing Paths, the YouTube channel that accompanies you on your journey to healing and restoring health from the roots. Here, we share reliable scientific knowledge focused on nutrition, movement, and lifestyle, all aimed at helping you achieve better health. Today, I will share just one daily habit to restore muscle strength like you're 40 again. By the time an individual reaches the age of 80, they may have lost up to 50% of their muscle mass compared to their younger years. This condition, known as sarcopenia, is a progressive loss of skeletal muscle that occurs with aging and is one of the leading factors contributing to frailty, decreased mobility, and loss of independence in older adults. In the United States alone, more than 300,000 seniors are hospitalized each year due to falls, many of which are directly linked to weakened muscles. Contrary to popular belief, sarcopenia is not an inevitable part of aging. Groundbreaking research published in the Journal of Physiology has shown that some individuals in their 70s and even 80s maintain muscle strength, physical performance, and body composition similar to people decades younger. These so-called super-agers not only move independently but also continue to engage in physically demanding activities like hiking, competitive sports, and resistance training, outperforming peers who struggle with basic tasks such as climbing stairs or standing from a chair. What separates these individuals from the rest is not luck or superior genetics, but specific daily habits. According to leading studies from institutions such as the Mayo Clinic and Harvard Medical School, there are key lifestyle practices that can prevent, delay, or even reverse muscle loss in older adults. Alarmingly, 93% of seniors remain unaware of these evidence-based strategies. Even more concerning is that many common habits, often encouraged by well-meaning but misinformed advice, may actually be accelerating muscle deterioration by activating genetic pathways that promote atrophy. The good news is that by identifying and correcting these habits, older adults can reclaim their strength, enhance mobility, and maintain a high quality of life well into their later years. This isn't about chasing youth. It's about preserving function, dignity, and independence through science-backed methods. The aging process may be inevitable, but how we age, especially in terms of muscle health, is largely within our control. One of the most surprising and paradoxical strategies used by physically strong older adults is the intentional use of hormetic stress, controlled exposure to mild stressors that, rather than harming the body, actually stimulate its defense mechanisms and promote cellular resilience. This principle, known as hormesis, is built on the idea that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, particularly when it comes to preserving and rebuilding muscle tissue. Research from the Buck Institute for Research on Aging has demonstrated that brief exposure to specific environmental stressors can activate pathways that enhance muscle repair, mitochondrial function, and longevity gene expression, even in individuals well into their 80s. These hormetic stressors don't require hours at the gym or drastic interventions. Rather, they are short, manageable actions that yield long-term benefits when practiced consistently. One of the most powerful forms of hormetic stress is temperature variation. Super-agers often incorporate cold exposure into their daily routines, such as ending showers with 30 to 60 seconds of cold water or taking brief cold plunges. These practices activate brown adipose tissue, increase mitochondrial biogenesis, and trigger the release of adiponectin, a hormone that helps preserve muscle and metabolize fat. Just a minute of cold exposure can send powerful metabolic signals that boost muscle protective pathways. On the opposite end of the spectrum, heat exposure through regular sauna use also provides substantial benefits. Finnish research has shown that people who use saunas 4 to 7 times per week experienced up to 40% less muscle loss compared to those who didn't use saunas. The heat activates heat shock proteins, which not only protect muscle cells from damage but also facilitate repair and growth. Regular use of saunas and hot tubs thus becomes more than just a relaxation practice. It becomes a form of therapeutic conditioning for the aging body. Another potent hormetic tool is intermittent fasting, specifically time-restricted eating. Many super-agers eat within an 8 to 10 hour window daily, giving their bodies a prolonged fasting period to activate autophagy, the natural cleanup process that removes damaged cells and rejuvenates muscle tissue. This fasting schedule has been shown to improve mitochondrial efficiency by up to 10% in just 12 weeks, according to the Salk Institute. The third commonly used hormetic stressor is transient muscle contraction through overcoming isometrics. This involves pushing or pulling against an immovable object with full intensity for just 5 to 10 seconds, activating muscle fibers deeply without stressing the joints. While the action is brief, the neuromuscular signals it sends are powerful, maintaining muscle density and coordination. Crucially, the effectiveness of hormetic stress depends on moderation and recovery. These stressors should be short and sporadic, followed by ample rest, to allow the body to respond adaptively. Overexposure or overtraining can do more harm than good. Super-agers ease into these habits gradually, listening to their bodies and building tolerance over time. In essence, hormetic stress offers a science-backed, non-invasive approach to fight muscle loss, stimulate growth, and support longevity, proving that sometimes a little stress is exactly what your muscles need to thrive. Among all the strategies available to counteract age-related muscle loss, progressive resistance training stands as the most effective, evidence-based intervention. Experts at Tufts University have even described it as the most powerful anti-aging drug ever discovered. And for good reason. While proper nutrition, supplementation, and lifestyle factors all play crucial roles, resistance training uniquely stimulates muscle growth at the cellular level, sending powerful anabolic signals that no other habit can replicate. Unfortunately, many older adults avoid resistance training out of fear that it may be too intense, risky, or inappropriate for their age. In reality, the absence of this form of exercise is far more dangerous. Without regular muscular stimulation, the principle of use it or lose it applies relentlessly, leading not only to decreased muscle mass but also to impaired balance, reduced mobility, and an increased risk of falls and fractures. What sets super-agers apart is their strategic approach to strength training. They don't just move more or settle for light activity. Instead, they follow structured programs that emphasize progression, form, and compound movements, and they do so consistently. Let's break down the core elements of an effective resistance training protocol for older adults. 1. Intensity over duration. Research from McMaster University has shown that just 2 weeks of high-intensity resistance training, taken to the point of transient muscle failure, where one cannot complete another repetition with good form, led to greater strength gains than 5 weeks of moderate training. The key isn't how long you exercise, it's how intensely you challenge the muscle. Transient failure signals the muscle that it must rebuild stronger in response. This stimulates muscle protein synthesis for up to 72 hours post-exercise, allowing for recovery and growth, even if training occurs only 2 to 3 times per week. 2. Compound movements for greater hormonal response. Super-agers prioritize compound exercises, movements that engage multiple joints and muscle groups simultaneously. Modified versions of squats, deadlifts, rows, presses, and pulls are favored over isolated actions like bicep curls or leg extensions. These movements not only improve functional strength but also trigger a stronger hormonal and neurological response, promoting balance, coordination, and overall vitality. 3. Progressive overload. The body adapts to the stress it's given. Using the same weights, reps, or intensity week after week results in plateau and eventual regression. That's why super-agers apply the principle of progressive overload, gradually increasing resistance, repetitions, or complexity of movements over time. This keeps muscles challenged, encourages growth, and sustains long-term adaptation. Tracking progress with a simple journal or digital app can be an effective way to stay accountable and ensure continued progression. 4. Emphasis on eccentric movement. Incorporating eccentric-focused training, the lowering phase of an exercise, has proven particularly effective in older populations. Lowering a weight slowly under control increases muscle tension, enhances joint safety, and provides excellent stimulus for muscle adaptation. For example, taking 3 to 5 seconds to lower during a squat or push-up maximizes muscular recruitment without overloading tendons or ligaments. 5. Personalization and recovery. A common myth is that resistance training must be aggressive or unsafe. In truth, any program can be tailored to match the individual's baseline fitness and physical limitations. Exercises can be performed seated, with resistance bands, light dumbbells, or even body weight. The key is gradual, measured progression, under proper supervision if needed. Equally important is adequate recovery. Older adults may require more rest between sessions to allow tissues to repair. A typical schedule of 2 to 3 sessions per week, paired with proper sleep and nutrition, can yield outstanding results without overtraining. In a landmark 12-week study conducted by the University of Alabama, seniors who participated in a structured progressive resistance program experienced a 35% increase in strength and gained an average of 3.3 pounds of lean muscle mass, without changing any other aspect of their lifestyle. Improvements were also seen in bone density, blood glucose regulation, cognitive function, and overall quality of life. In conclusion, resistance training is not just safe, it's essential. When done correctly, it is the single most impactful habit an older adult can adopt to regain strength, restore independence, and age with confidence. If you implement only one strategy from this entire framework, let it be this one. While most strategies for combating age-related muscle loss focus on increasing muscle size or improving nutrition, there's a critical yet often overlooked factor that determines whether those muscles actually function as intended: the neuromuscular connection. This intricate system, where the brain communicates with muscles via electrical and chemical signals, is what allows us to move, react, and coordinate our bodies effectively. As we age, the efficiency and strength of these connections begin to deteriorate, leading not only to reduced muscle performance but also a significantly higher risk of falls, instability, and immobility. This decline isn't merely due to shrinking muscle fibers. It stems from the degradation of the neuromuscular junctions, NMJs, themselves. These are the biological outlets where nerve cells transmit activation signals to muscle cells. Once NMJs weaken or break down, even the strongest muscles can become sluggish and unresponsive. That's why preserving neuromuscular health is just as essential as building muscle mass, especially in older adults. The super-ager advantage. Studies from the University of Michigan reveal that super-agers, those in their 70s and 80s with exceptional physical capabilities, maintain significantly stronger neuromuscular connections than the average person their age. More impressively, researchers have identified specific habits that can preserve, and in some cases restore, these vital connections. 1. Coordination-based movement. Unlike typical strength training, certain physical activities require precise coordination, timing, and rhythmic engagement between the brain and muscle fibers. Exercises such as Tai Chi, dancing, tennis, and even table tennis, ping pong, have demonstrated remarkable benefits in preserving neuromuscular control. A 2020 study found that older adults who engaged in coordination-rich activities twice per week maintained 31% better neuromuscular function compared to those who simply walked or performed traditional strength exercises. These practices demand the nervous system to recruit muscle fibers in complex, pattern sequences, stimulating brain regions associated with motor control, balance, and agility. This is not only beneficial for physical function, it enhances cognitive health, as these movement patterns strengthen neural pathways between the motor cortex, cerebellum, and spinal cord. 2. Neuroprotective nutrients and compounds. Neuromuscular preservation isn't solely about movement. It's also deeply influenced by biochemical support. Super-agers often incorporate key nutrients and neuroprotective compounds into their daily routines to support nerve signaling and prevent oxidative damage. Alpha-lipoic acid and acetyl-L-carnitine. These antioxidants combat oxidative stress at the neuromuscular junction, enhancing signal transmission and preventing age-related decline. Benfotiamine, a bioavailable form of vitamin B1, and huperzine A, from Chinese club moss. These compounds help boost acetylcholine, the primary neurotransmitter responsible for muscle activation. Magnesium and omega-3 fatty acids support nerve conduction, myelin integrity, and reduce inflammation around nerve cells. Together, these compounds help preserve the integrity of neural pathways and ensure consistent, high-quality communication between the brain and muscles. 3. Breathwork and vagal nerve stimulation. Breathing may seem passive, but intentional breathwork techniques such as box breathing, inhale 4 seconds, hold 4, exhale 4, hold 4, stimulate the vagus nerve, a major conduit in the parasympathetic nervous system. Stimulating this nerve has been shown to enhance neuromuscular transmission, reduce stress, and even improve reaction times. Just 5 minutes of breathwork per day can improve muscle activation by up to 15%, according to recent findings. It's a powerful, low-effort tool for optimizing the connection between brain and body, particularly beneficial for older adults with limited mobility. 4. Cognitive engagement and brain training. The relationship between mental activity and physical strength is stronger than many realize. Researchers at Columbia University found that older adults who regularly participated in challenging cognitive tasks, such as puzzles, memory games, or learning new skills, maintained superior neuromuscular control compared to their peers. Why? The neuromuscular system and the brain share many of the same neural networks. Engaging in cognitively demanding activities stimulates synaptic plasticity, reinforcing the very circuits that the body uses to coordinate muscle movement. In essence, training the brain is training the muscles. Practical takeaway. Preserving the mind-muscle connection is not about doing more, it's about doing things differently. Super-agers don't just lift weights. They move with purpose, play with complexity, and nourish their nervous systems. Whether it's learning a new dance, practicing deep breathing, or supplementing with nerve-supportive nutrients, each habit builds toward a more responsive, agile, and resilient body. Ultimately, maintaining your neuromuscular health isn't just about staying strong. It's about staying in control, staying sharp, and living life on your own terms. In the journey to aging gracefully and independently, your brain and muscles must remain deeply connected. One of the most silent but destructive forces undermining muscle health in older adults is chronic low-grade inflammation, a phenomenon known in scientific literature as inflammaging. Unlike acute inflammation, which is a temporary immune response to injury or illness, inflammaging is a persistent, systemic state of inflammation that worsens with age and gradually deteriorates tissues, including muscle. Inflammaging has been identified as a key driver of sarcopenia. It interferes with the body's ability to build and maintain muscle mass by both accelerating muscle protein breakdown and blunting the anabolic muscle-building response to exercise and protein intake. As a result, even seniors who engage in physical activity and eat well may continue to lose muscle if inflammation is not properly addressed. According to a major study by Tufts University, older adults with elevated inflammatory markers lost muscle mass 3 times faster than those with low levels, regardless of their diet or physical activity levels. This means that managing inflammation is not just a secondary concern. It is a fundamental pillar of muscle preservation. So what do super-agers, those rare individuals who maintain exceptional muscle strength into their 70s, 80s, and beyond, do differently? They intentionally adopt daily anti-inflammatory practices that most people overlook. Let's explore these in detail. 1. Prioritizing deep, consistent sleep. Sleep is not merely a time of rest. It's a biological repair cycle, during which the body regulates hormones, clears toxins, and restores tissues. However, poor sleep quality or inconsistent sleep patterns can dramatically increase pro-inflammatory cytokines, leading to higher levels of muscle degradation. Super-agers maintain a strict sleep hygiene routine, going to bed and waking up at the same time daily, avoiding blue light before bed, and sleeping in complete darkness to support melatonin production and immune balance. In fact, sleep deprivation has been shown to raise inflammatory markers by up to 40%, making it one of the most underestimated threats to muscle and metabolic health. 2. Maintaining a healthy gut microbiome. Recent advances in microbiome science have shown that the state of your gut flora directly influences systemic inflammation. Age-related shifts in gut bacteria, caused by poor diet, medications, or lack of diversity in food intake, can trigger immune responses that lead to chronic inflammation. Super-agers consume a diet rich in 30 or more plant foods per week, including a wide variety of vegetables, legumes, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. They also incorporate fermented foods such as yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, and miso, which introduce probiotics that support gut health. This diversity feeds beneficial microbes, enhances gut barrier function, and reduces the leakage of inflammatory compounds into the bloodstream, a condition known as leaky gut syndrome. 3. Training smart and not just hard. While regular movement is essential for maintaining strength, overtraining or exercising with excessive intensity, especially in older adults, can backfire by elevating cortisol and inflammatory responses. Super-agers follow a balanced exercise protocol. Daily light to moderate movements such as walking, stretching, or yoga. 1 to 2 sessions per week of higher intensity interval or resistance training. Ample rest days to allow for recovery and immune regulation. This rhythm ensures that exercise serves as a therapeutic stimulus, rather than a chronic stressor. 4. Eating an anti-inflammatory diet. Nutrition plays a central role in regulating inflammation. Super-agers make intentional food choices to nourish their muscles and cool systemic inflammation. Some of the most effective anti-inflammatory nutrients include omega-3 fatty acids, 2 to 3 grams daily, from sources like fatty fish, salmon, sardines, flax seeds, chia seeds, or high-quality fish oil supplements. Curcumin, the active compound in turmeric, shown to suppress several pro-inflammatory pathways. Best taken with black pepper, piperine, for enhanced absorption. Polyphenol-rich foods such as berries, green tea, dark chocolate, and extra virgin olive oil, which neutralize free radicals and support immune balance. Sulfur-rich vegetables like garlic, onions, broccoli, and cabbage, which enhance detoxification and reduce oxidative stress. These foods not only reduce inflammation but also enhance insulin sensitivity, mitochondrial health, and tissue regeneration, all critical for maintaining muscle mass with age. 5. Monitoring inflammation proactively. One of the most practical tools for assessing chronic inflammation is the high-sensitivity C-reactive protein, HSCRP, blood test. While average seniors may have CRP levels between 3.0 to 5.0 mg/L, super-agers typically maintain levels below 1 mg per liter, indicating low systemic inflammation. Regular testing allows individuals to track their progress and make data-driven adjustments to their lifestyle and supplementation strategies. Final thoughts. Inflammation is often invisible. There's no pain, no clear symptoms, and yet it silently corrodes muscle tissue, weakens immunity, and accelerates biological aging. The good news is that it's highly modifiable. Super-agers prove that with the right habits, it's entirely possible to age without the burden of chronic inflammation. By combining restorative sleep, gut-friendly nutrition, smart training, and strategic supplementation, you can effectively lower inflammation and protect your muscles, preserving not just your physical strength, but also your independence, vitality, and resilience in the years ahead. When it comes to maintaining muscle mass and functional strength in older age, vitamin D is often overlooked in favor of protein, resistance training, or other supplements. However, emerging research has revealed that this so-called muscle vitamin plays a far more significant role than previously believed. In fact, insufficient levels of vitamin D are now considered a primary contributor to muscle weakness, poor balance, slower reaction times, and a greater risk of falls in seniors. Studies show that over 80% of adults over age 65 are either deficient or insufficient in vitamin D. What makes this especially alarming is that muscle tissue itself contains vitamin D receptors, and these receptors decline in number and sensitivity as we age, making it all the more essential to maintain optimal levels of the nutrient. The muscle vitamin D connection. According to researchers at Harvard Medical School, vitamin D plays a direct role in muscle protein synthesis, mitochondrial function, and neuromuscular coordination. When adequate levels are present, vitamin D binds to receptors within muscle cells, activating pathways that promote muscle growth, regeneration, and contraction efficiency. A landmark study published in JAMA Internal Medicine found that older adults with optimal vitamin D levels had 25% greater muscle strength, improved balance and coordination, and significantly fewer falls compared to those who were deficient. This isn't just correlation, it's cause and effect. What is optimal vitamin D? Many standard recommendations suggest 600 IU of vitamin D per day for older adults. However, this amount is often far too low to maintain sufficient blood levels, especially in individuals with limited sun exposure, darker skin, or impaired absorption. Clinical research indicates that optimal vitamin D levels for muscular and metabolic health lie around 40 to 60 nanograms per milliliter. Blood levels below 20 nanograms per milliliter are classified as deficient, and anything between 20 to 30 nanograms per milliliter is considered insufficient. Super-agers, those who maintain robust physical health into advanced age, nearly always fall into the optimal range, thanks to a combination of sun exposure, diet, and targeted supplementation. Why sunlight alone isn't enough. Although sun exposure is a natural source of vitamin D, it becomes less effective with age. After age 65, the skin's ability to synthesize vitamin D from sunlight drops by nearly 50%. Combine that with the widespread use of sunscreen, time spent indoors, and geographic location, and it becomes clear that most seniors cannot rely on sunlight alone. A practical recommendation for many older adults is to get 15 to 20 minutes of direct midday sun exposure to areas like the arms, legs, or back, ideally without sunscreen. However, even this is often not enough, especially in winter months or northern climates. Supplementation strategy. For most seniors, supplementation is the most reliable method to maintain sufficient vitamin D levels. Functional medicine experts and geriatric specialists often recommend 2,000 to 4,000 IU/day of vitamin D3, cholecalciferol, depending on baseline blood levels and individual absorption. Regular blood testing every 6 to 12 months to ensure levels are within the optimal range. Combining with vitamin K2, especially -7 Malawian kwaches, to help direct calcium into bones and prevent arterial calcification, a risk associated with high-dose vitamin D without adequate K2 intake. Foods that naturally contain vitamin D include fatty fish, salmon, mackerel, sardines, egg yolks, liver, and fortified dairy products. However, diet alone rarely provides therapeutic amounts, making supplementation a crucial part of the plan. Conclusion: vitamin D is far more than a bone-supporting nutrient. It is a powerful modulator of muscle strength, reaction time, and fall prevention, and yet it remains chronically deficient in the majority of the aging population. Super-agers optimize their vitamin D levels not by chance, but by intention. They test regularly, supplement wisely, and support absorption through diet and lifestyle. By doing so, they unlock a powerful advantage in the fight against sarcopenia, ensuring that their muscles remain strong, responsive, and functional well into advanced age. Protein is widely recognized as the foundation of muscle repair and growth, especially in older adults. However, recent research reveals that it's not just how much protein you consume, but when and how you distribute it throughout the day, that plays a decisive role in preserving muscle mass as you age. This concept is known as protein timing, and it is especially critical for overcoming a biological barrier called anabolic resistance. What is anabolic resistance? As we age, our bodies become less responsive to protein intake, meaning that muscle cells require a higher and more consistent supply of protein to trigger the same muscle-building response seen in younger individuals. This blunted response is referred to as anabolic resistance and is one of the key reasons why many seniors continue to lose muscle despite eating sufficient protein overall. Fortunately, this can be mitigated by optimizing how protein is distributed across meals. The mistake most seniors make. The typical dietary pattern for older adults is protein skewed toward dinner. A light breakfast, if any, moderate lunch, and then a large protein-heavy evening meal. While this may seem harmless, it actually limits the body's ability to build and maintain muscle during the rest of the day. According to a study published in the Journal of Nutrition, seniors who consumed the majority of their protein in a single meal had significantly lower rates of muscle protein synthesis compared to those who evenly distributed protein intake across all meals. In other words, your muscles need a steady stream of amino acids throughout the day, not one big bolus. The 3-meal muscle formula. To overcome anabolic resistance and maximize muscle retention, aim to consume 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein per meal, spaced approximately every 3 to 4 hours. Here's what a sample day might look like. Breakfast: 2 eggs plus Greek yogurt plus a scoop of protein powder in oatmeal or smoothie. Lunch: grilled chicken or lentils plus quinoa plus vegetables plus olive oil. Dinner: salmon plus steamed broccoli plus sweet potato plus a handful of almonds. This approach ensures that each meal stimulates muscle protein synthesis, keeping muscle-building pathways activated throughout the day. In a 12-week study conducted by the University of Texas, older adults who followed this method gained an average of 1.2 pounds of muscle, without changing anything else in their routine. Simply adjusting meal structure had a measurable positive effect. What counts as high-quality protein? Not all protein sources are created equal. High-quality proteins contain all 9 essential amino acids, particularly leucine, which is critical for triggering muscle synthesis. Optimal sources include animal-based, eggs, poultry, fish, beef, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, whey protein. Plant-based with combinations lentils, beans, tofu, tempeh, quinoa, soy milk, pea protein blends. For vegetarian or vegan seniors, it's especially important to diversify protein sources and combine complementary foods to achieve a complete amino acid profile. Don't forget post-workout protein. If you engage in resistance training, as covered in habit number 2, timing your protein within 30 to 60 minutes post-workout can further enhance recovery and promote lean muscle gains. A simple shake with 20 to 30 grams of whey or plant protein is ideal if a full meal isn't immediately available. Conclusion: protein isn't just about quantity, it's about timing, distribution, and quality. By spreading high-quality protein evenly throughout the day, older adults can overcome anabolic resistance, preserve existing muscle, and stimulate new growth, even in their 70s and 80s. Super-agers treat protein like medicine, taken consistently and strategically. If muscle is the currency of longevity, then smart protein timing is your investment plan. Start tomorrow by rethinking your breakfast and ensuring it includes a real dose of protein, not just carbs and coffee. When most people think about building or preserving muscle, they focus almost exclusively on macronutrients, protein, carbs, fats, and exercise. While these are undeniably important, there's a silent group of nutrients working behind the scenes that determine whether your efforts succeed or fail. Micronutrients. Micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, and trace elements, act as catalysts and cofactors for nearly every physiological process related to muscle maintenance, energy production, nerve signaling, and protein synthesis. A deficiency in just one critical nutrient can limit the effectiveness of a well-designed diet and exercise program. This is especially relevant for older adults, whose nutrient absorption naturally declines with age. The micronutrients that matter most for muscle. Let's highlight some of the key micronutrients that super-agers prioritize and why they matter. 1. Magnesium, the forgotten electrolyte. Essential for over 300 enzymatic reactions, magnesium is crucial for muscle contractions, nerve function, and energy production. Unfortunately, more than 70% of older adults are deficient due to poor intake, medication interactions, and reduced absorption. A 2021 study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that seniors with optimal magnesium levels had 30% stronger grip strength and faster physical performance than those with even mild deficiencies. Best sources: dark leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, almonds, black beans, and magnesium glycinate or 3-in-8 supplements. 2. Creatine, not just for bodybuilders. Often misunderstood as a gym supplement, creatine is actually a naturally occurring compound that helps regenerate ATP, the primary energy currency of muscle cells. In older adults, creatine has been shown to improve muscle mass and strength, support cognitive function, enhance muscle hydration and recovery. A daily dose of 3 to 5 grams is safe, effective, and backed by decades of research. 3. Vitamin B12, energy and nerve health. With aging comes a decline in stomach acid, impairing B12 absorption. Compounding the issue, common medications like proton pump inhibitors and metformin further reduce B12 levels. B12 is essential for neuromuscular signaling, red blood cell formation, energy metabolism. Super-agers opt for methylcobalamin, the bioactive form, rather than cheaper forms like cyanocobalamin. 4. Trace minerals, the unsung heroes. Elements like zinc, selenium, and chromium play key roles in insulin sensitivity, muscle repair, immune regulation. A 5-year study from Tufts University found that seniors with optimal trace mineral levels maintained 22% more muscle mass than those who were mildly deficient. The super-ager strategy. Rather than guessing, super-agers often undergo micronutrient testing to identify individual deficiencies and customize their supplementation. This ensures they aren't wasting money on generic multivitamins, but instead targeting what their body actually needs. Final thought. Micronutrients may be invisible, but their effects are undeniable. They form the biochemical foundation upon which strength, recovery, and vitality are built. Optimizing your intake of these small but mighty nutrients can help turn the tide in your fight against muscle loss and unlock the full potential of everything else you're doing right.